Are we rolling? Okay, I'm a-coming. Yep, it's me, Edward. Just gonna get that coffee, you know. Gotta keep that Java running through the veins. I don't have any fancy IV system, but I do have a mug, and it works. Yes, the old dumpster diving codger is back again with the Dell. Well, I have to be honest, this Dell did not come out of a dumpster. This motherboard did not come out of a dumpster. But I have saved many PCs from dumpsters. And one moment here, gotta take a slurp of the old Java. Oh, my wife makes good coffee. Anyway, where were we? Yes, I had the curse of the dying battery, so I'm probably going to have to splice a bunch of videos together, see if I can remember how to do that. But it's daytime. Probably should be in bed sleeping right now. But anyway, because you know I got to sleep sometime. But I'm very excited about this build, and I just wanted to go over some things. I got some RAM in here. I don't know if the camera has it or not. I should go check and see. Maybe I can sucking on a cough drop here. Yes, I'm highly unprofessional. Okay, so let me just check the camera to make sure it's got the motherboard. Yeah, it kind of does. All right, okay, you can see the RAM. Yes, I've got some RAM. It's not matched RAM, but it will be matched RAM. I'm going to pull the RAM from the other computer once I get everything going here. But basically, predominantly, I want to focus on getting this motherboard in a case. So you'll have to bear with me when I adjust the camera to go down on the case so you can see what I'm doing. And just go over a few things I have to do. Over here, I noticed that the purchase board I made didn't have a... It was missing a standoff here for the BGA. And I'm not sure how that happened, but I stole one off the other one, and I noticed it had to be pressed in. I thought I could unscrew it, and when it came out, there was no threads, and I realized, oh, this has to be pressed. So I used some pliers like this and just sort of pressed it on. Just sort of very gently pressed it in, and lo and behold, it actually seemed to hold. Now, it's a little wobbly, but I think it's better than no standoff at all. Perhaps maybe they're soldered, but it does seem to be holding its own. It's not like spinning in there. So at least I do have that replaced. I'm really surprised because the gentleman that I get the motherboards from in Vancouver, every motherboard he's ever given me is good. So I have no problem with that. I'm pretty sure this thing's going to boot up. It's just, you know, mostly a cosmetic type thing. And BGA, I mean, I'm going to be getting a graphics card, which goes right in here. It's surprising what this little old DDR2 motherboard can actually hold. I believe it's a micro board, and micro or mini, one of those ones. And so, but this is PCI, and these are your PCIe's here, so, you know, or PCIe 2. So I have two slots like that, and these are good for like USB 2.0 cards or something like that, like to put in there. But I will be definitely using the slots. I will be definitely getting this board running. Looks like we've got a fan header here, which is kind of nice. And I have the cooler on here. I wish I could get the screw down a little more. Yeah, just I think I need to find a different screw. I MacGyvered it a bit, and that's an old saying we have back in the day. But it, you know, it's got 3 screws holding it down there pretty good. Now I have to admit that I'll hold this up here so you can see it a little bit better. One moment, please, because I will be required to be gentle. All right. This is it's got a Cooler Master fan. You can see right here. Now that did not come standard with Dell, but that Cooler Master fan, I remember using this, and this is a good fan. It works very well, and it's probably even better than the stock. So I've done a little bit of modification here with the block, but it's kind of, you've got nice cooling, as you can see, over top the VRMs and everything, the caps, and the I don't anticipate any heat reports or anything. Overheating. I think that the cooling solution on this board is good. Now I had to look into a power supply, and at first I thought, okay, I've got lots of Dell power supplies. They'll probably work in this unit. But if I'm going to use a graphics card, it would be good to make it a little bit more future-proofed, a little bit more power. So I remember that once upon a time I had purchased a Studio XPS 435T, I believe it was called, or T435. Can't remember precisely how that order works. 9000 Studio XPS 9000 435T, I believe it is. And that motherboard went into another computer, and with an even better power supply. I can't remember how many watts it was, 630 watts, I think. So I'm going to use the actual Dell power supply, and this Dell power supply is a little bit bigger, so we might have to do a little bit of gentle modding, but it's a nice clean power supply, and it's pretty good. I know it works. It's tried and tested. It's not, I don't see, my advice is with power supplies, if you have to with noise killer, if you have to replace a power supply, try to get the 40 plus standard or whatever they call it. Like it comes in various degrees of ratings. There's the bronze standard. Nothing wrong with that. I mean, depending on what you're doing. For high performance stuff, you probably do want to go at least silver or gold, or if you got the money, maybe platinum, titanium standard. Okay, but the thing is when you get those certified power supplies, they're a lot better. Better filtering for power spikes, things of that nature. With these stock power supplies, I mean, I'm not going to say they're bad. I mean, obviously, a company like Dell, I don't think would get the very cheapest power supply ever, because then they'd have all kinds of problems, But I've seen some pretty bad looking ones out of China, that they don't have the certification that you would normally find here in North America. But this power supply is tried and tested and has worked rather well. And because I use UPS and really effective filtering, I use it's not a power bar. It's like I forgot the name of it, but they use it in server rooms, right, for cleaning up your power a bit for servers, because servers, they run steady, and you have to have good clean power on those. So yes, this weather is really, it's up, down, up, down, up, down, and actually it's warmed up. It's only -10 right now, but we were getting like -35, -40, and I've got a little tickle in my chest here, and I'm getting really tired of this winter. But that aside, I'm going to use this Dell power supply on my Dell motherboard, and that way absolutely ensure there's no risk of burning out my motherboard, like what happened with the one that I purchased from eBay, where the supplier or the seller just put in a power supply because, hey, it fit. Well, just because it fits doesn't mean that it's appropriate for the motherboard, and I lost 2 hard drives as a result of that. I just about say that every video, but it's because I'm working with a Dell unit. And anyway, so a little bit of a recap. I don't know if the camera caught me punching these out, but I actually want to show you how you don't have to punch them out. You can just gently pry them out with a screwdriver, usually just a little bit, and they'll break off at the connection points. And these are out because I'm going to be putting components in the machine. It's going to be better than it was when I first got it. So now this whole beat up case, it's going to need standoffs, and I'm going to position the camera so you can see what I'm doing here. Standoffs are a must, and I'll get into that. Some people think maybe you don't need them. No, you need them. And you need standoffs for a couple of reasons. They hold your motherboard level and position it. Okay, hold on, I'm going to move the camera a bit. They position your motherboard so it lines up with the back, your I/O on the back of your case, and that's how you attach your motherboard to your, that should work, to your whoops, just your case. All right. Now, maybe this is so cheap, you know, that you could just use screws in. I don't want to do that. I want to use standoffs. I'm going to try it. If it doesn't work, now you can get various standoffs. You know, see, I'll show you. Some are like the stubbies, and some are a little bit longer. And these are the old brass ones. Now they make them out of cheap aluminum, and you got to be careful. Try not to get those. And but or nickel are good. Okay. I'm going to screw these in. Well, tighten them by hand first. Now, the thing about standoffs, I guess I should point this out, because I've learned this the hard way. And you should always finger tighten them first, but don't just leave them finger tight, because what will happen is, if you have to remove the board for any reason, when you try to undo it, the standoff will start spinning with the screw, you know, and you'll have lots of fun trying to get the screw out to get the motherboard off. So what you do is you hand tighten them first, all down in. I hope that camera's getting all that. I don't have a capture card or anything to look up on another screen like these, you know, fancy professional people have. But okay, and then you take a little wrench. Oh, maybe this one's too big. Yeah, okay, little wrench, and you snug them up. Okay, it's not too tight. You don't want to strip them. Okay, but you do want to snug them up so that they don't come undone when you're removing the motherboard for whatever reason, right? Ooh, I guess I kind of reefed on that one a little bit, but didn't hurt the standoff. This is a cheap wrench too, but I have better tools. It's a matter of digging around and finding them, and I wanted to get this done. It's there, nice and tight. I mean, you don't have to do what I did there, reef on so hard that it goes flying out of your finger, but you want them snug. You really do want them snug. And also, when you put your motherboard or your main board or your system board, has so many names. System board, motherboard, main board. Anyway. Oh, there's one down in here too. How about that? Oh, and there's one over here. Well, we got a couple for that too. I don't even think the board actually goes that far. So I'm going to skip those two because I don't think it needs it. That's in case you put a bigger size board in, I think. When you put that in, the board, you should not put the screws in too tight. Just nice and snug. That's it. Hand tight, as they say. But the standoffs have to be in tightly. I'm just going to check, but because I am not certain. Looking at this, you have to be very, 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 very gentle. I'm not certain that all those standoffs. Yeah, I guess all those standoffs are going to be used. Well, how about that? How about that? Huh. Alright, so we're going to just careful. It wants to connect so badly, you know. There we are. Just didn't look right, but it is right. Very interesting. Well, I know what's throwing me off. The power supply is on the top, not the bottom. Okay. Power supply is on the top. So we'll put in these standoffs here. You can get those standoffs dumpster diving, you know, from breaking down old computers. I'm just wondering. I don't have a smaller size. Cheap wrenches. No, that's the one. Boy. Crude fits, my friends. Very easily slip. I don't like slipping. Slipping and stripping, you know. But strip my knuckles too, you know, if I'm not careful. Alright, good and firm. Alright. So that's done. We have the standoffs in. Got dust floating down there. With dust, you know, I thought I'd backing this thing out. But anyway, and these cables have to run inside these clips here. But we'll get to all that. This is not, you know, uber brand new high-tech build or anything, but for our purposes it's good enough. Now we're going to put the power supply in first. I don't like the idea of trying to put in a power supply over top of a motherboard. I have done it, and when you have to do it, you can do it. But at the same time, if you don't have to, why do it? Why risk it, you know? Alright, so I want to set this up in a way where all the... Now you see, this is not a modular power supply. It's a standard power supply. All the wires come out of one hole. In a way, that's a good thing, by the way, you know, because then you don't have them all spread out all over the place. Sometimes that's not so good, like for building, but this makes it a bit easier in some ways. And yes, it's just as I thought. It's going to be a bit of a trick to convince it to slide past this glass, but there we are. It is a Dell. As long as I can get the... There we are. Now here's what's important. Alright, I know it looks like, well, if that's the top, you have it in upside down. Well, motherboards are... Look, the power supplies are versatile. You can flip them one way or the other way. I prefer this way because I'll show you, if you can see in here, if you're doing any work on your computer, if it's facing up, odds are if a screw drops, it's going to fall into your fan blades, and then you'll have some real fun getting it out. So I have it face down, so the writing is going to be upside down. Also, I might save an inch or two or something, you know, for room for connecting it to my motherboard. Now in this case, it's not a huge, large size case, so it will. I'll have the link for my cabling, but it fits nice and flush. You can see right here these two guides, one there, guide there. I don't know if the camera's catching that. And it fits flush in there like it's made for it. Okay, and if there's any question about my installation, it'll actually stay in there like that. There's the screw holes, screw hole. See, it's a little loose. Screw hole, screw hole. So we're going to put some screws in there so that it doesn't flop around as you as you saw it flop, right? See? But the screw holes line up. That's something you should always be checking. Listen, this is like a hobby thing. Something you can do in the privacy of your own home and bring yourself maybe even a little pleasure. These are your standard screws. They're not all the same, by the way. Some look the same, but some are wider. You want to check that, okay? Because you don't want to be stripping. You can use them on hard drives if you're careful and make sure. But these are your standard computer assembly screws, all right, with the hex tops, right, or whatever they are, octo tops. But yes, I know these will work on the power supply, because I've used this type so many times before. Dell might have their own, but for our purposes, these will suffice. And just, I think some of them are aluminum, some of them are a little bit better quality. Or as they say in England, aluminium. Aluminium. Maybe that's what I'll do, is I'll use aluminium screws. I have one nickel type screw in there, so one chromed screw. Yeah, so Sparky couldn't make it, so that's not a problem. Something came up, I guess. But he'll make an appearance at some point. And fascinating man. He was playing with breadboards and things like that, building his own Heathkit stuff, you know, back when he was just a kid, just an adolescent. I think he built his first computer when he was 11. You know, those are the types that you don't have a monitor, you got LEDs to count things, calculate things. Now it's the same. I don't know if the camera caught any of that, but it's the same sort of thing. You as with your heat sink and various other components. You want equalized pressure, so we just tighten a little there. All right, cross over diagonally, tighten a little there, because you want even pressure all the way around for a nice flush installation. That's your general rule of thumb with stuff like this. Okay, there we are. That power supply isn't going anywhere. And yes, it looks like I have it upside down, but there is no upside down when it comes to power supplies, generally. Okay, I'm sure there's some exceptions, but in this case there's no such exception. Now we've got all this whole cluster. But the reason I wanted to use this one is it gives you more options than the standard power supply that comes with the Dell Inspiron 530. It gives me much more connectivity, alright, and I like that. I like my connectivity. So now we throw all these outside type thing. Well, I don't really throw them. And this is where we're going to slide the motherboard into the computer case. I'm just pushing this up to the camera so you catch all that. Now there are 1,000 videos on how to build computers, but there aren't very many on resurrecting old dumpster computers, right? Computers that normally be tossed in the dumpster, what to do with those, how to make those work again, how to resurrect them and make them functional. So that's what this theme is about, and hopefully I can get a Two Old Geeks thing going. I ran this by Sparky here and said, hey, you know, we should start a series, Two Old Geeks, and the whole theme will be based on resurrecting old computers and making them functional and usable, you know, and practical. That way it's a little instructional and educational, environmental, and maybe even a little mental, you know. But hey, people will watch anything. And I just want to make it clear, you know, you want to subscribe, you can subscribe. You don't want to subscribe, no problem. You want to give a thumbs up, thumbs down, I don't care. You know, because it makes no difference to me. I just want to get this out there on the internet, right? I'm not doing this for money. If I get a little thing from YouTube saying, would you like to monetize, because I was getting so many hits. I did that once before. Admittedly, I turned them down. But in this case, I might just say yes, because I want people to watch this. I want people to learn. See how I just gently put that in? Okay, you know? And I know some of you are thinking, you're not wearing a wrist strap. Well, you know what? I have never, ever hurt a PC not wearing a wrist strap. Now, Sparky, he would be on me about that. He'd be like, you should be wearing a wrist strap. No? Okay, there we are. Got that one. Have a little bit with the BGA on this. Yeah, he would be on me. He'd be telling me, no, you should be wearing a wrist strap. Because he's old school, okay? And, yeah, a lot of old school components, they didn't have built-in grounding. But most of the, even components this old, they do. What I'm trying to do is line this up so that it goes through the provided heat or shielding, I/O shielding, that comes at the back. And it's like a cushioning material, and so it's a little different than the front I/O clip, because, well, it's old. All right, and I don't know if it's because of my standoffs, but this is tricky. This is not typical. It's almost lined up, but I have a little bit of an issue with this. I may have to, well, I wouldn't want to pull that off, because that fits on the so dip it down. It's kind of, oh, wait a minute. I kind of have the alignment here, but it's looking like it is looking like I can't use standoffs. It is looking like they want me to put it on without the standoff. So didn't actually have standoff. That's what it is looking like. Wow. Boy, did they cheap out. Let me see if that's what the deal is. Okay. Let me see. I'm used to standoffs on computers, but that means I'm going to have to take all these standoffs off and drop it down and see if that's what the deal is, because it's not lining up with the I/O the way I want it to. And you know, I'll be honest, it's been a while since I've worked on Dell computers, because look, I'm going to say this about Dell, and I know I might make some people angry, but Dell makes pretty good all-purpose stock computers, okay? And you know, they're proprietary, so you have to be very careful what kind of components you're going to exchange yourself or put or take in or out of it. But they are known for their shortcuts. And, well, you know, by taking those shortcuts, they can pass the savings on to you, the customer. And they can also maybe make a little money themselves, right? We're going to try this. I'm not saying that this is the issue, but we're going to try it without the standoffs, which is really weird, because I'm always used to using standoffs. But maybe it's that, you know, type of deal. I'll find out right away as soon as I see. But notice how these came up easily anyway, even though they're snugged up. So don't be afraid to snug them up. All right. Now, let's just see if this lines up on the, yeah, already it looks like it lines up. Yeah, perfectly. Oh man, that's terrible. No standoffs? Well, I suppose, I mean, the aluminum is raised, so it will work that way. But it just, you know, I wondered about that. But at the same time, and those standoffs, that's what I did. I tried a standoff, and it spun in there like it was made for it. So I thought, oh, I guess they do use standoffs. Good, they didn't cheap out. Well, no, I'm wrong. They cheaped out. They cheaped out, because now this slides in perfectly like it was made for it. Everything lines up perfectly, and it's all good. So, wow, you know, now, this, I keep saying, this is not some high-tech, really expensive build going on here. So, you know, you get what you pay for to an extent, and a little bit less, because, you know, Dell has to make their money too. And, but these are good little boards. And, you know, for what you pay, I have to say that it's been my experience. Well, I was going to connect those, but I want to secure the board first. So we're going to use, there are other types of computer screws, but I'm going to use the standard screws, and knowing the deal here, because I want it to be in firmly. So we're going to use the standard screws on this aluminum. I'm not impressed. I have to tell you, I'm not impressed that they don't even use proper standoffs, just molded into the case body, you know, but what can you do? But at the same time, you know, the savings is passed on to me, the customer. Well, actually not, because I didn't get this motherboard from Dell. Yeah, I snuck up anyway. I got it, you know, on eBay, and I'm really surprised. Normally, that seller in Vancouver, it just must have escaped his attention there. It was actually missing one of those standoffs for the VGA at the back of the computer. Not that it matters to me, it's more cosmetic than anything else, but you know, what if I don't have a video card? You know, I would like to properly connect my VGA, right? But oh well. It's not really, I mean, the VGA will work without it anyway, because there's two and it just needs one. But still, it's missing a piece, right? But this is not a high-end, bleeding edge, brand new, just got this motherboard, brand new case, and brand new. No, this is a dumpster diver special. And normally, people would throw something like this in the dumpster with the DDR2, and you know, and end of story. Oh, it's old. It's 10 years old. It's 12 years old. Hard to believe that 2007 was 12 years ago. But that's when I bought this case from Dell. And then the power supply went. And that motherboard I threw out, not knowing that it was probably a perfectly good motherboard. The amber light on the motherboard threw me off. That's normal, by the way. These Dell motherboards have an amber light, which I think is silly. It should be green if it's all systems go, not, you know, amber to freak you out and make you think that you're being alerted to something wrong. But color coding, right? Okay, so there we are. Got the yellow USB already connected. And take the long end screwdriver and very gently push it down. See, behind that clip where it goes, and it runs like that. Okay, very gently. When you do stuff like that with a screwdriver, you know, you got to be gentle. Okay, you can't just screwdriver everything, MacGyver it, scratch it up, mess it up. You have to be gentle. We'll put this one on very gently now. There we are. That's connected. And let's see, we're running down through the case, and then there's a green one, but I'm wondering about this blue one. It's a USB as well. So where does that USB one go? Because I don't know if you're catching all this. This is the power line. Okay, that's to the power switch that goes in here. And I don't know if that shows, but I can lift it. See? Right here. I don't know if you can see down in there, but way down in there, that's the power button. And so what we're going to do is we got to connect it to here, the power switch. It's very easy. Your power light, you know. A lot of this stuff is very straightforward. I mean, you can just, by looking at it, go, hey, this matches this, so, you know. But don't let that fool you. Like, be careful. Because just because, like I said, just because it, in an earlier video or a different time, just because it fits doesn't necessarily mean it belongs. And, like I said about that Dell computer that I bought from somebody, you know, I'm thinking to myself, he probably sold it because he was burning out so many hard drives he didn't understand. And there's a perfectly good power supply, I don't understand. I could just see that happening. I'll just sell it, right? I can see that happening. I don't know if that is what happened, but yeah, burned out 2 hard drives that way before I knew what was going on. Now, I knew a lot about software back then and how computers worked. Well, depending on who you talk to, you know, I mean, there are people who know software. I mean, there's coders. I mean, there's people who know software just talk circles around me, you know. But I knew a whole lot more about software than I knew about hardware in those days. And I actually phoned a computer guy on the phone saying, hey, can I do this? And he said, yeah, you shouldn't have any problem doing that at all. And he's right. Normally, you'd have no problem changing a hard drive, changing out a hard drive. You know, it's just a matter of connecting, you know, 2 connectors. You know, it's an easy job, right? But not when you have the wrong power supply. So, but I didn't know I didn't have the right power supply on that, and so yeah. Educational, expensive educational experience. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this. This is my power line. And again, this is like a modification job. This is, you know, like this power supply was not made for this computer. It was made for a higher end Dell. But it will work. I know it will. Check the specs and everything. That's one thing you should do, is go online, check the specs. If you're in doubt, check the specs. It's just going to give me a little bit more in the way of options. The cable is so old, and well, this might be the wrong part. Yeah, this is the wrong connector. Duh. Okay. It takes a 4-pin connector. This is the one that you use for your GPU. If you have a GPU that needs a little extra power, that's the one for the GPU. So put that one away. I don't know why it was. I knew I had the black and yellows. That's what I needed for this. Here's the one for the power supply. Power supply uses 4 connectors. I go, what are you doing? This thing's got 6 pins. What are you doing, Edward? Okay, so, and it will connect to here. I got a little excess. So we're connecting the power line, 4-pin power line, to the 4-pin board. Some of these newer boards have 6 or 8. Power requirements are greater, but we want to try to keep things as clear and, you know, out of the way as possible. Now there are clasps here. There's, you know, for all that sort of thing, for keeping those things, you know, clear as possible. But yeah, there we are. Capacitor. Nice. So that's going to be pinching down, holding down, clasping down the hole. Now this is your main power connectors directly to the motherboard. This handles everything, like your RAM, the whole kit and caboodle. Like everything runs through here, powers up your board. Okay. This here is technically for powering up your CPU. I don't know if you can see it, the one that I just did. Okay, but this is really for the board itself. So we're going to click that one there, and you'll notice they come separate, because some motherboards take a smaller size, right? So, but this one actually takes the whole range. Yes, even though it's a little a little micro job, it takes everything. It's surprising. I'm going to say it again. Surprising what this little board can do. Oh, for some reason. For that very reason, I'm going to start on this end. And you got to hear that click. Listen for that click. Because you definitely want that all the way. And they're very hard to remove once they're in. Okay. So, this huge bundle of wire is going to be tucked. And that's what I don't like about mini ATX is they just press down, make sure, is that they don't give a whole lot of room. Now I got to being really kind of sad and sentimental. Hold on, this is a serious moment. Big talk. I'll be right back. I have to show you my face here. Boy, I don't know if that camera caught anything of what I was doing. Should have spun it around. I don't know if it's even going to get me now. I'm going to spin it around. In case it didn't catch anything what I was doing, what I did is I put this power supply clip here. This powers up the whole motherboard, alright? I put the CPU connector there. And all this is for basically your interface material. See, look at all the Molex and the SATA. You know, it gives me some options to work with, whereas the other power supply was very limited. Okay, I get a lot of Molex here, so good. Now, just want to check my camera here. Bring it up a little bit. Way up. And I'll call Rusty. Okay, hold on. Boy, I talk about giving my age away. I am not the friendly giant. I like to call Sparky. Sparky, get over here. Alright. So, looking right into the lens at you. This is a dumpster diving build, but I didn't get this from a dumpster. This is my own. I paid for the motherboard, but you can do this with any computer. You can, you know, that you rescue, you know, from the recycling station. You know, just you can find out what's wrong with it, put it together, get it running. Don't you know, people throw these things away too soon, too easy. This thing will run a scanner, printer, email, do your Facebook, your media, get a graphics card, you can do some good gaming, you know, not great maybe, not great gaming, but you know, you can do a whole bunch with a little unit like this, and it gives you a little recreation. It gives you some, you know, pride in your own workmanship. You know, it gives you a little handy project. You know, this is great for young people who want to learn how computers work and want to learn, you know, how to assemble things. You know, I could just go on and on about the benefits. You know, you do your environment a favor. On and on it goes. You know. And I'm not saying don't buy a brand new unit and build a brand new unit. I'm not saying that. But stuff happens, right? Always good to have a standby, you know.